The sun is slowly setting over a duchess's manor house. In the misty twilight, Patricia Carleon, the duchess's niece, is out for a stroll in the woods nearby. Suddenly, she stumbles upon a cloaked stranger who is tracing out shapes on the ground and chanting.
Per mio arovano, per mio arovane.
Oh, who are you?
Ah, who am I? I have a hat, but not to wear. I wear a sword, but not to slay. And ever in my bag, I bear a pack of cards, but not to play.
What are you? What are you saying?
It is the language of the fairies, O daughter of Eve.
But I never thought fairies were like you. You come in the shape and size of a man.
Because I would speak with a woman.
I think you are growing taller as you speak.
Inside the manor itself, the newly ordained minister, Reverend Cyril Smith, is waiting in the hall for an audience with the Duchess. While he waits, Dr. Grimthorpe, who is also intent on speaking with the Duchess, enters.
Oh, I beg your pardon, Reverend. I did not notice there was anyone here.
I beg yours, Doctor. A new clergyman cannot expect to be expected. I am the rector, Cyril Smith. I came to see the Duchess about some local affairs.
Pleasure to meet you. I am Dr. Grimthorpe. That's my house over there out the window. The one with the red lamp.
A doctor? Does your visit then imply that the Duchess is ill?
No, the Duchess rarely is. Same as you. I have also come to see the Duchess about some local affairs. But I suppose we should both like to get hold of her by a separate ear?
Oh, there's no disguise as far as I'm concerned. I've joined this league for starting a model public house in the parish, and in plain words, I've come to ask Her Grace for a subscription to it.
And, as it happens, I have joined in the petition against the erection of a public house in this parish.
Oh.
The similarity of our position grows with every instant.
Yes, I think we must have been twins.
Well, what is a model public house anyway? Do you mean a toy?
I mean a place where Englishmen can get decent drink and drink it decently. Do you call that a toy?
No, I should call that a conjuring trick. Or, in apology to your cloth, I will say a miracle.
I accept the apology to my cloth. I am doing my duty as a priest. How can the Church have a right to make people fast if she does not allow them to feast?
And when you have done feasting them, you will send them to me to be cured.
Yes, and when you've done curing them, you'll send them to me to be buried.
Well, you have all the old doctrines. It is only fair you should have all the old jokes, too.
Quite so. I will have you know, however, that the Duchess has already given £50 to the new public house.
But this is rather curious. She has also given £50 to my league for opposing the new public house.
Well, that strikes me as rather odd. Is the Duchess normally this absent-minded?
The Duchess does suffer a little from absence of mind. She is all for compromise. The Duchess is the kindest of people, and is always trying to please everybody. She generally finishes by pleasing nobody.
Yes, I think I know the sort of thing.
Did you know, Mr. Smith, that the Duchess has 2 wards who are to live with her now?
Yes, Doctor, I heard something about a niece and nephew.
The niece came some months ago, but the nephew comes back from America tonight. There is something odd about the Duchess's family. I think I will tell you about it. In spite of your precious public house, you seem to me to be a sane person. And I fancy I shall want all the sane people I can get tonight.
I am at your service. Do you know, I rather guessed you did not come here only to protest against my precious public house.
Well, you guessed right. I was family physician to the Duchess's brother. I knew the family pretty well. There is this sort of superstitious nature about them. I am not easy in my mind about the Duchess's niece in particular.
Why? What does her niece do?
Oh, she wanders about the park and the woods in the evenings. Damp evenings, for choice. She calls it the Celtic twilight. And what is worse, she is always talking about meeting somebody, some elf or wizard or something. I don't like it at all.
Have you told the Duchess?
Oh, yes, I told the Duchess. The result was a conjurer.
A conjurer?
The Duchess is indescribable. Put 2 or 3 facts or ideas before her, and the thing she makes out of them always seems to have nothing to do with it. I suppose she vaguely thinks a conjurer would brighten things up, and somehow satisfy the believer's interest in supernatural things, and the unbeliever's interest in smart things. As a matter of fact, the unbeliever thinks the conjurer's a fraud, and the believer thinks he's a fraud too. The conjurer satisfies nobody. That is why he satisfies the Duchess.
Perfectly on cue, the Duchess, a hearty woman of middle age, comes down the stairs and bursts into the hall. She is especially excited today, as she has been eagerly awaiting the arrival of her nephew, Maurice Carlion.
Good evening, Mr. Smith. Hello, Doctor. So sorry to have kept you waiting, but we're rather in a rush today. My nephew is coming to visit, and I think he'll be arriving any moment now. I hear he's been doing great things out in America. Petrol, or something. Must move with the times, eh? That must be Maurice knocking at the door. Do open it for him, Doctor.
Hello, everyone. See here. Does the Duchess live here?
Yes, only one.
I reckon she's the one I want anyhow. I'm her nephew.
Maurice! Delighted to see you, my dear boy. I hear you've been doing very well for yourself.
Oh, well, pretty well, Duchess. And how's my sister Patricia?
Oh, Patricia's very well. I think she...
Well then, where is Patricia?
Miss Carlion is walking about the grounds, I think.
It's a mighty chilly night to choose. Does my sister commonly take the air on such damp evenings?
Why, it's all temperament, you know. The artistic temperament. It's her temperament to go walking about in the evenings to see fairies. And it's my temperament not to see fairies. Why, I've walked all round the grounds 20 times and never saw a fairy. It's also like that about this wizard or something she keeps meeting. For her, there is somebody there. For us, there would not be somebody there. Don't you see?
Now wait a minute, Duchess. Do you mean to say my sister's been meeting some man out there?
Oh, not a man, you know. A magician. Something mythical, you know.
See here, Duchess. If you ask me whether I like my sister bumping into strangers on a night like this, well, I don't.
I am afraid you Americans aren't so advanced as I'd hoped, Maurice. Why, as old Buffle used to say...
I think I hear someone singing out in the garden. Whose voice is that?
You need not trouble. I know who it is.
Maurice, how lovely to see you.
Patricia, where have you been?
Oh, in Fairyland.
And whereabouts is that, Miss Carlion?
It's rather different from other places, Doctor. It's either nowhere or it's wherever you are.
Has it any inhabitants?
Generally only 2, Maurice. Oneself and one shadow. But whether he is my shadow or I am his shadow is never found out.
He? Who?
Oh, you needn't get conventional about it, Maurice. He is not a mortal.
Well, he's got a name, hasn't he?
We have no names there. You never really know anybody if you know his name.
Then what does this guy look like?
I have only met him in the twilight. He seems robed in a long cloak, with a peaked cap or hood, like the elves in my nursery stories. Sometimes, when I look out of the window here, I see him passing round this house like a shadow, and see his pointed hood dark against the sunset or the rising of the moon. When we meet, he tells me the truth about a great many things. He is a wizard.
So he's a wizard, is he? I suppose he's been playing some tricks on you.
I should know he was a wizard even if he played no tricks. But once he stooped and picked up a stone and cast it into the air, and it flew up into God's heaven like a bird.
See here, Patricia, I reckon this kind of thing is gonna be the limit. I'm just not gonna have you taken in by some blamed tramp or fortune teller because you choose to read minor poetry about fairies.
Come, Morris, you must allow a little more for poetry. We can't all feed on nothing but petrol.
I'm surprised at you, Doctor. I thought you considered the family superstition bad for the health.
Mr. Smith, I consider a family superstition to be better for the health than a family quarrel. Well, Miss Carleon, it must be nice to be young and still see all those stars and sunsets. We old buffers won't be too strict with you if your view of things sometimes gets a bit mixed up, shall we say. If the stars get loose about the grass by mistake, or if, once or twice, the sunset gets into the east. We should only say, dream as much as you like. Dream for us who can dream no longer. But do not quite forget the difference.
What difference, Doctor?
The difference between the things that are beautiful and the things that are there. See that red lamp in the distance, out the window? It hangs over my door. That red doctor's lamp isn't beautiful, but it's there. You might even come to be glad it is there, when the stars of gold and silver have faded. I am an old man now, but some men are still glad to find my red star. I do not say they are the wise men.
Yes, I know you are good to everybody, Doctor. But don't you think there may be floating and spiritual stars, which will last longer than the red lamps of doctors?
The red lamp will last my time, Miss Carleon.
But look, the red star has just vanished.
Nonsense. Let me see. The doctor's lamp didn't vanish. It's only somebody standing in front of it. Say, Duchess, there's somebody standing in the garden.
Somebody in the garden? Really? This land campaign.
If it's that fortune teller of yours, Patricia, I'm going outside to hunt this tramp down. Got a lantern, Duchess?
Oh, you need not trouble, Morris. He will come if I call him. You may enter all doors, wizard.
Softly crossing the lawn, the cloaked stranger Patricia met in the woods approaches the house. Soon, he is at the door to the hall.
Now see here, wizard, we've got you. And we know you're a fraud. I've met your sort often enough. The sort of con man who wheedles money out of girls by telling them he can make stones disappear.
Do you say you can make stones disappear, sir?
Yes, I can make stones disappear.
I reckon you're the kind of tough who knows how to make a guy's wallet disappear too.
Yes, I can make a wallet disappear.
And I should think you were pretty good at disappearing yourself.
I have done such a thing.
Will you disappear now?
No, I think I'll appear instead.
The stranger unfastens his cloak, revealing himself to be a young man in full evening dress.
Good evening, Your Grace. I'm afraid I'm rather early for the performance, but your guests seemed rather impatient for it to begin.
Oh, good evening. Why? Really? Are you the...
Yes, I am the conjurer whose services you requested.
Oh, I see. Yes.
Miss Carleon, I am very sorry I am not a wizard.
You've certainly made a pretty good thief.
And what have I stolen?
A fairy tale.
An hour has passed. The conjurer is quietly setting up his tricks on a table. 2 packs of cards, some cups, a box, and a few other devices. The Duchess enters and approaches him.
Good evening, Your Grace. Here are the programmes of the entertainment you wanted.
Thanks. Morris wants to see these very much.
Shall I take them to him for you?
No, I shan't forget. Why, you've no idea how businesslike I am, conjurer. We have to be, you know. I know you're a bit of a socialist, conjurer, but I assure you there's a good deal to do. Staking the country and all that. Look at remembering faces now. The king never forgets faces. I never forget faces. Why, I was just telling Morris about how you perform before the king every night. You see it on the caravans, you know. Or rather, almost every night, I suppose.
I sometimes let His Majesty have an evening off, Your Grace, and turn my attention, of course, to the very highest nobility. But naturally I have performed before every sovereign potentate. There never was a conjurer who hadn't.
That's right! And you'll agree with me that the great business for a king is remembering people?
I should say it was remembering which people to remember.
Well, now. I must go and see how Morris is. Pleasure of seeing you later.
Oh dear, she's forgotten the programmes. Why are nice people such fools? Let's see. That seems all right. The pack of cards that is a pack of cards. And the pack of cards that isn't a pack of cards. My hat, which looks like a gentleman's hat, but I am no gentleman. And this is my conjurer's hat.
I beg your pardon. I came to get some programmes. My aunt forgot them.
Miss Carlion, might I speak to you a moment?
I can hardly imagine what about.
You think I'm a liar because I walked about the fields with you and said I could make stones disappear. Well, so I can. I'm a conjurer. In mere point of fact, it wasn't a lie. But if it had been a lie, I should have told it just the same. I would have told 20 such lies. Nevertheless, I told you a great deal of the truth.
Yes, you did tell me a great deal of the truth. But you never told me the truth that one wants to know.
And what is that?
You never told me the truth about yourself. You never told me you were only the conjurer.
Sometimes I'm afraid I'm something worse than the conjurer.
I cannot think of anything worse than a conjurer who does not call himself a conjurer.
There is something worse. But that is not what I want to say. Do you really find my lie very unpardonable? I destroyed a fairy tale, for I created a fairy tale that I was bound to destroy. But do you blame a man very much, Miss Carlion, if he enjoyed the only fairy tale he had had in his life? Suppose he said the silly circles he was drawing were really magic circles. Suppose he said the bosh he was talking was the language of the elves. Remember, he has read fairy tales as much as you have. Do you blame him very much if he too tried to have a holiday in fairyland?
I blame him less than I did. But I still say there can be nothing worse than false magic. And after all, it was you who brought the false magic.
Yes. It was you who brought the real magic.
Ah, conjurer, I see you have your tricks laid out on the table. Let's see. I know that one. I know that. I know that. That's the false bottom, I think. That works with a wire. I know that. It goes up the sleeve.
Really, Morris? You mustn't talk as if you knew everything.
I don't mind anyone knowing everything, Miss Carlion. There is something that is much more important than knowing how a thing is done.
And what's that, Professor Hocus Pocus?
Knowing how to do it.
That's so, eh? Being the high-toned conjurer now because you can't take all the sidewalk any longer as a fairy.
Really, Morris? You are very rude. And it's quite ridiculous to be rude. This gentleman was only practising some tricks by himself in the garden. If there was any mistake, it was mine. Come, shake hands, and don't be silly. He won't turn you into a bowl of goldfish.
Well, I guess that's so. Shake.
Very well. Here's my hand.
Now, if you'll excuse me, my aunt needs these programmes.
You won't turn me into a bowl of goldfish anyhow, conjurer. No, I'm just a quiet businessman. But I understand that when you do produce a bowl of goldfish, there are generally slips of carrot. That is so, conjurer.
Yes, they are generally slips of carrot.
Come in, Dr. Grimthorpe and Mr. Smith.
Hello, Mr. Carleon. Good evening, conjurer.
I hope we aren't interrupting your discussion.
Not at all. I was just discussing with our friend the conjurer here how most mysteries are tolerably plain if you know the apparatus. You know, I wish we had all the apparati of the old priests and prophets. I guess most of the old miracles were just a matter of panel and wires.
I don't quite understand you. What old apparatus do you want so much?
Well, conjurer, I just want the old apparatus that turned rods into snakes. I want those smart appliances, sir, that brought water out of a rock when old man Moses chose to hit it. But this modern conjuring is all behind the times. That's why they only do it with schoolboys. There isn't a trick on that table I don't know. The whole trade's dead.
Oh, I quite agree. By the way, let me have a look at how you do one of those tricks, would you?
I'm not a paid play actor come here to conjure. I'm not here to do stale tricks. I'm here to see through 'em. I say these tricks are all passé and...
True. But as you said, we never show them except to schoolboys.
And may I ask you, Professor Hocus Pocus, whom you are calling a schoolboy?
Gentlemen, may I interrupt your quarrel and bring you back for a moment to the argument? You were saying that these modern conjuring tricks are simply the old miracles when they have once been found out. But as a man of the church, I must point out that another view is possible. When we speak of things being sham, we generally mean that they are imitations of things that are genuine. Take that painting by Reynolds over there of the Duchess's great-grandfather. If I were to say it was a copy, you wouldn't take it as meaning that Sir Joshua Reynolds never lived. Why should sham miracles prove to us that real saints and prophets never lived? There may be sham magic and real magic also. There may be masquerade ghosts precisely because there are real ghosts. There may be theatrical fairies because there are real fairies. You do not abolish the Bank of England by pointing to a forged banknote.
I hope you enjoy being called a forged banknote by Mr. Smith, conjurer.
Almost as much as being called an advertisement for an American company, Mr. Carleon.
Gentlemen.
I am sorry.
I don't like this argument, Smith. They're both getting much too excited.
Yes, you're right.
Now you say old man Reynolds lived, Mr. Smith, and science don't say no. But I guess he's dead now, and you'll no more raise your saints and prophets from the dead than you'll raise the Duchess's great-grandfather to dance on that wall.
Why? The portrait is moving.
It can't be.
But look at it.
Ha! You're the one moving the portrait, aren't you, conjurer? You were in the room before us. Do you reckon that will take us in? You can do all that with wires.
Yes, I could do all that with wires.
And you reckon I shouldn't know? Ha! That's how those dirty spiritualists do all their tricks. They say they can make the furniture move of itself. If the furniture does move, they move it, and we mean to know how.
Watch out, that chair's about to fall over.
Oh my!
Why, that? Everyone knows that. A sliding plank. That's how you made the chair fall, conjurer. It can be done with a sliding plank.
Yes, it can be done with a sliding plank.
You were right on the spot, Doctor, when you talked about that red doctor's lamp of yours earlier. You see that red lamp out of the window, Professor Hocus Pocus? That red lamp is the light of science that will put out all the lanterns of your masquerade ghosts. Your kind can no more stop that light from shining or change its colour than Joshua could stop the sun and moon.
I say, the lamp by my house has gone blue.
Wait a minute. I've got you. I'll have you. You put a wire. No, that can't be it.
Well, just at this moment we need not inquire.
You call yourself a man of science, and you dare to tell me not to inquire.
We only mean that for the moment you might let it alone.
No, priest, I will not let it alone. Could it be done with mirrors? You have a mirror. I've got it. Mixture of lights, why not? If you throw a green light on a red light...
You don't get blue.
Conjurer, if you have done this trick, for God's sake undo it.
The lamp's gone back to red.
It's the glass. You've been doing something to the glass.
I don't think you will find anything wrong with the glass.
Then I'll go out there and find out what's wrong with the lamp.
Oh dear. He's gone outside. It is still a wet night, I'm afraid.
Where is my brother?
I'm afraid, Miss Carlion, that he is walking about in fairyland.
But he mustn't go out on a night like this, conjurer. It's very dangerous.
Yes, it is very dangerous. He might meet a fairy.
What do you mean?
You went out into this sort of weather, and you met my sort of fairy, Miss Carlion. And so far it has only brought you sorrow.
I'm going out to find my brother.
What is that noise coming from outside? What are all those cries and gasps I hear?
I believe that those, Mr. Smith, are the normal noises of a quiet businessman.
Sir, I can understand your being bitter, for I admit you have been uncivilly received. But to speak like that just now...
Can I speak to the doctor?
Certainly, Miss Carlion. I'm at your service.
We must go outside. My brother needs your help.
Let us go to him quickly, then.
That last was a wonderful trick of yours, conjurer.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Smith. I suppose you mean it was the only one you didn't see through.
Something of the kind, I confess. Your last trick was the best trick I have ever seen. It is so good that I wish you had not done it.
And so do I.
How do you mean? Do you wish you had never been a conjurer?
I wish I had never been born.
The hour has grown late. Morris Carlion has been taken to a bedroom where his sister Patricia is looking after him. The doctor, careworn, is seated in a chair in the hall. The conjurer crosses the room, carrying his bag and cloaked for departure.
Forgive me, conjurer, but may I detain you for one moment? I suppose you are aware that there have been rather grave developments in the case of illness which happened after your performance. I would not say, of course, because of your performance.
Thank you.
Nevertheless, your triumphs this evening were really so extraordinary that I cannot pretend to dismiss them from my patient's case. He is at present delirious. The question he continually asks is how you managed to do your last trick.
Doctor, there are about 1,000 reasons why I should not tell you how I really did that last trick. But one will suffice, because it is the most practical of all.
Well, and why shouldn't you tell me?
Because you wouldn't believe me if I did.
Oh. Well...
Good evening, Your Grace. Good evening, Mr. Smith.
Good evening, conjurer. I'm glad we caught you before you left.
So very kind of you to have waited, conjurer. I expect Dr. Grimthorpe has explained the little difficulty we are in much better than I could. Nothing like the medical mind for a scientific statement. Look at Ibsen. Now, my dear sir, I hope you will not be offended if I say that this ought to be a business matter. We are asking you for a piece of your professional knowledge, and if I may have the pleasure of writing you a cheque...
I thank Your Grace. I've already received my cheque for the performance this evening from your secretary. Apparently, you made it out for me just after the other cheque you so kindly gave to the Society for the Suppression of Conjuring.
Now, I don't want you to take it in that way. I want you to take it in a broader way. Free, you know. Modern, and all that. Wonderful man, Bernard Shaw. Besides, haven't you got a cause or something, conjurer? Conjurers' widows, or something of that kind? I could address the cheque to them instead.
No, I have no widows.
Then perhaps something like a pension or annuity for any widows you may, procure. Come, let me call it a couple of thousand. There you are.
You would really be willing to pay a sum like this to know how I did that trick? How I changed a light from red to blue? But suppose I tell you the secret and you find there's nothing in it.
You mean it's really quite simple? Why, I should say that would be the best thing that could possibly happen. A little healthy laughter is the best thing for convalescence.
You asked me how I really did that last trick, Your Grace. I will tell you how I did that last trick. I did it by magic.
Do you really mean, conjurer, that you take the cheque and then tell us it was only magic?
I tear the cheque, Doctor, and I tell you it was only magic.
But hang it all, there's no such thing.
Yes, there is, Doctor. I wish to God I did not know that there is.
Why? Really? Magic?
Yes, Your Grace. Magic. Good night.
One moment, sir.
What do you want, Rector?
I want to apologise to you. I mean, on behalf of all of us. I think it was wrong to offer you money. Now, I put the affair to you in plain words and on plain human grounds. Here is a poor boy who may be going mad. Suppose you had a son in such a position. Would you not expect people to tell you the whole truth, if it could help you?
Yes, and I have told you the whole truth. Go and find out if it helps you.
You know it will not help us.
Why not?
You know quite well why not. You have said it yourself. Because he would not believe it.
Well, does anybody believe it? Do you believe it?
Come, let us sit down and talk about it.
I will not sit down. I wish to leave.
Oh, hello, Patricia. How is Morris doing?
Excuse me. May I speak to the conjurer?
I'm here, Miss Carlion. What is it you want?
You must tell me how you did that last trick. You will. Oh, I know you will. Oh, I know my poor brother was rude to you, but he's rude to everybody. But he's such a little boy.
I suppose you know there are things that should not be told.
Yes, and I've gone through too much to be scared of them. Tell me the very worst.
I will tell you the very worst. I fell in love with you when I first saw you. That's why I lied and made you believe I was a wizard.
I never believed you were just a wizard. I always knew you were a man. But you were different from the other men I've known. You brought the magic of fairyland from my old nursery stories back into my life. But never mind that now. Morris's life may be in danger. You have to tell me how you did the last trick.
How I did the last trick? I did it by devils! You can believe in fairies. Why can't you believe in devils?
No, I can't believe in devils.
Well, this room is full of them.
What does it all mean?
It only means that I have done what many men have done, but few, I think, have thrived by. I told you I'd mixed with many odd sets of people. Among others, I joined those who pretend, truly and falsely, to do our tricks by the aid of spirits. I don't wonder at your believing in fairies. As long as these things were my servants, they seemed to me like fairies. But soon I found that the spirits I was consulting were evil. Awfully, unnaturally evil. They were always tempting me to use the supernatural power I had got from them. And now that I've fallen at last, it wasn't for some great cause or ambition. It was because of the impudence of your schoolboy brother. I called on the fiends and they obeyed. They changed the doctor's lamp from red to blue. And they are the ones who frightened your brother in the garden.
My God, what a nightmare you've been living. But what are we to do with Morris? I believe you, but he will never believe.
Let me think.
Where are you going, conjurer?
Into the garden.
I'm coming too.
Remarkable man, that conjurer. Clever man. Curious man. Very curious man. A kind of man, you know. My goodness, it's gotten dark. Lord bless us! What's that?
What's what, Your Grace?
I swear I heard a footstep.
What are you? In God's name, go!
Really, Mr. Smith, I am not used to being spoken to.
I wasn't speaking to you, Doctor.
Then, to whom were you speaking?
I'm not sure.
No. But I think I will go. This room is simply horrible.
Room horrible? Room horrible? No! Only a little crowded. And I don't seem to know all the people. We can't like everybody. These large parties.
Go back to the hell from which I called you. It is the last order I shall give.
Is that you, conjurer? I can't see a thing in this darkness.
Yes, Miss Carlion and I are back.
And what are you going to do?
We are going to tell my brother a lie. We have managed to think of a natural explanation of that trick.
That's marvellous. Can I take your explanation to Mr. Carlion now?
No, thank you. We will take it ourselves.
We all felt devilish queer just now, didn't we, Doctor? Wonderful things there are in the world, eh, Mr. Smith? I suppose it's all electricity.
I think there has been more than electricity in all this.
Yes, quite. Mesmer and all that. Oof! It's rather stuffy in here, don't you think? Doctor, could you please open a window?
Yes, certainly. Oh, it's stopped raining. It's quite clear outside now.
Miss Carlion, conjurer, how did it go?
Oh, Morris is so much better. The conjurer was so convincing when he told him the story of how the trick was done.
Conjurer, we owe you 1,000 thanks.
It is much more marvellous to explain a miracle than to work a miracle. What was your explanation, by the way?
I shall not tell you.
Indeed? Why not?
Because if I told you the lie I told Mr. Carlion about how I did that trick, you would believe it as he believed it. You cannot think how that trick could be done naturally. Miss Carlion and I only found out how it could be done after I had done it by magic. But if I tell you a natural way of doing it,
Well?
half an hour after I've left this house, you will all be saying how it was done. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye, Miss Carlion.
I shall not say goodbye. I want you to stay.
You are great, as well as good, Miss Carlion. I put my honour in your hands. Oh yes, I have a little left. We began with a fairy tale. Have I any right to take advantage of that fairy tale? Has not that fairy tale really and truly come to an end.
Yes, that fairy tale has really and truly come to an end. And it has come to an end in the only way a fairy tale ever can come to an end.
I don't understand you.
It has come true.